It is our attitude at the beginning of a difficult task which, more than anything else, will affect its successful outcome. William James. So today I want to talk about beginnings. I want to talk about starting new things. And welcome to my room here in DC. I can put stuff on the walls legally here. The walls are made of concrete, so it's hard, but I can still do it. I made this in Chapel Hill. This is from a Night Vale show that I went to twice. Once in North Carolina and once in Scotland. This is Batman. And these are all my books for the semester, and the biography of Alexander Hamilton that I'm borrowing from Pam. So I know they're kind of far away, but if you could read all the titles, you'd see that there's the Bible, and then there is an introduction to everything else. There's an introduction to the early church, and there's an introduction to the Hebrew Bible, and there's an introduction to the New Testament, and there's a theological introduction to the Hebrew Bible. There's also an introduction to philosophy for theology, which is gonna be great. And for the most part, this feels like stuff that I should already know, right? Like, I know the books of the Old Testament, and I know, like, where most of the New Testament came from. Like, I'm aware of what's going on here. Like, Pam, you and I took a whole class in college on the Hebrew Bible. We've had our introductions. But by making everybody take these same beginning classes, we make sure there's a shared vocabulary for the rest of the experience, so that when we go on to a systematic theology class, or when we go on to like a church and culture class, or when we go on to how we interpret like the book of Tobit and the Apocrypha, like we have the same idea of how we want to discuss these things together. And you can find that shared language over time, but if you start out at the beginning with that, you're being very intentional about what you want to do. As the church, as a community of people who say we all want to believe the same thing or believe the same core thing, having those definitions at the beginning and knowing where we can poke and prod is really important to me. It's really helpful. It helps define the language we use. There are a lot of new beginnings throughout the year. There's the beginning of a new school year, there's starting a new job. Each season has a new beginning. There's the beginning of football season, there's the beginning of ACC basketball season, there's the new year itself. You could even count Advent or Lent or Easter all as new beginnings in the Christian calendar. And no matter where we end up, the beginning sets the tone for the experience that we're gonna have. And if that tone isn't what we want to have, we have to spend time correcting that, resetting the relationship or the experience that we want to have. So when we have the chance to begin anew, let's begin with intention. Let's do something the way we want it to be done, so we don't spend a long time fixing the cracks that we formed at the beginning. Beginnings are made up of hope and potential and good things, but also uncertainty and discomfort and a pile of other things that I am done experiencing but know I will experience again. If I have the chance, why not set the narrative in my favor? So that's where I'm at in my life, starting all sorts of new things, which are great and fantastic, but it is definitely a beginning. So tell me all about your lives, things that are going on, or tell me about some beginnings that you've been going through and how you process them and how you try to function in this crazy old world that we all have to live in. Send me all your thoughts and feelings, and I'll see you soon. In the early 1850s, few pedestrians strolling past the house on H Street in Washington, near the White House, realized that the ancient widow, seated by the window, knitting and arranging flowers, was the last surviving link to the glory days of the early republic. That's how you begin a book!